Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be tiling this bathroom floor. So this is going to be a complete guide, a step-by-step process, and hopefully by the end of the video you'll feel confident in tackling the job for yourself. So as you can see, this bathroom still has carpets in it. So one, not very fashionable, and two, very unhygienic. So I'm going to get the carpets out now.
So yeah, just basically rip carpets out.
Okay, so next up you just want to move the carpet strip. So I'll just get my mini pry bar and a hammer. And they came out really easy.
And then just carry on around the room taking the carpet strip out.
Okay, so the next job I've got to do is take the toilet out. Now a lot of people will tile around the toilet, but if you were then to remove the toilet in the future, you're then left with a profile that isn't going to match your next toilet that you go ahead and buy. So it's always better to take the toilet out, tile the entire floor, and then put the toilet back in. So I'm just going to go ahead now and isolate the water. Flush the toilet. And then I'll have to soak it up with a sponge. I've got two fixings at the back that need to come out of the cistern, two fixings in the toilet itself that need to come out, and the nut right there I'll have to take off as well. And I think that's about it. I can then remove the toilet in the cistern. Okay, so that's the toilet removed. I've just bagged up the pipe to stop any smell coming through. The next job is to just give it a really good hoover and get any dust up. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now.
So first of all I hoover it. And then I also give it a sweep just to be thorough.
Okay, next up I've got some warm soapy water and an abrasive pad. And I'm just going to give the entire area a good clean as well.
And put a bit of elbow grease into it. You want to make sure it's nice and clean.
Okay, so next we want to make sure we've got a nice uniform surface. So looking at the concrete, it's actually in very good condition. There's no cracks or anything in it. The only issues I've got is along the edges where there are a few divots. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some rapid set cement from Wicks, it's £4, and I've just poured some in a tub with some water, mixed it up, and I'm just going to go around now filling in any little holes around the edges.
And I'm just using a flexible putty style knife to do this.
So as you can see, I've just worked around the room with the cement, going around the edges where there was any defects or low points. And this is rapid set cement, so it does go off very quick, so just make up small batches at a time. So I'm just going to let that dry now, which shouldn't take too long, and then we'll proceed to the next step. Okay, so the concrete's had plenty of time to go off and set. The next part of the procedure now is to use a concrete sealer and seal the entire floor. Concrete is quite porous and it allows water to come through, so if you don't do this step it can affect your bond between the tile and the concrete.
So I found the quickest way to do this is just to use a 9-inch roller, and it went on in no time. And afterwards I just went round the edges with a brush just to catch all the edges as well.
Okay, so now that our concrete sealant is dry, your next step is you're going to want to buy a decoupling membrane like this one that I've just purchased here. And the reason for that is a lot of subfloors like OSB and concrete, they expand and contract, and the problem is with a porcelain or ceramic tile is there's no flexibility in it. So if your concrete over time cracks, that will translate into the tile and you can end up with a crack in your tile. So what this membrane does, is it's sort of sandwiched between the concrete and the tile. So it just allows a little bit of flexibility where the concrete can move slightly and the membrane will move with the concrete and give it that flexibility so your tile doesn't end up cracking. You're also going to want to decide what pattern you want your tiles in. So here we've got a linear pattern right there, or alternatively you could go for a horizontal style pattern,
or a herringbone style pattern.
And here we have a brickwork style pattern here. So you get the idea, guys. Just have a play around with the tile, shuffle them around, see what pattern you like and go from there really. So I bought this membrane from Tops Tiles here in the UK and they sell it by the metre. So I think it was about £15 a metre square. So I've got 2 metres square here and I've just cut out the sections and I'm going to use some adhesive to embed that into the concrete in just a moment. So I'm just using this Maypie fast set adhesive and I've just whipped up some here in the bucket. That's about the consistency you're looking for, and I've just mixed it in with the trowel. So let's get cracking with this then.
And so I just begin by spreading the adhesive around with the notch trowel. And then I just lay in the membrane and then I get my grout flow and I'm just pressing it into the adhesive. So there you go, that's it complete. That's the membrane set into the adhesive, and you'll just want to leave it now 24 hours for it to go off completely before you do the next step.
Okay, so it's the following day, change of plan. I decided I'm not keen on these tiles, so I'll just show you the tiles I've gone for instead. Gone for these ceramic tiles. So what I've done is started from the middle and worked my way outwards, and I've cut all the tiles to the correct shape and size using these tools at the back here. So I've got a tile cutter, profile gauge, some health and safety specs, ruler, a scribe over there, a file, pencil, and I've got an angle grinder with a tile cutting disc on just for anything that isn't a straight cut. And I've also gone ahead and labelled each tile so I can remove these when I'm done and then start putting the adhesive down and set them in. And here's the other cuts over here. So that's pretty much all my cuts. And I find it easier just to make sure you've got all your cuts done first before you start putting your adhesive down, because it is rapid set adhesive, and if you're having to make cuts while the adhesive's going off, it can be quite stressful and you can make mistakes. So it's better just to get everything prepared first and everything looking good before you start mixing up your adhesive. Right then, that's the adhesive mixed up right there. I've got some of my tiles ready to lay in right there, and I'm going to just get on with it now.
So here I'm just using a technique called back buttering, and this is just going to help with adhesion. So essentially all you're doing is just applying adhesive to the back of the tile. And now I'm just going to set my tiles in one by one. Just make sure once you've set the tile in, just give it a wiggle just to collapse some ridges, and just make sure you don't miss out any spaces here and set it into the adhesive. And it's worth noting here, the bigger the tile, the bigger the notch trowel you want. So if you've got small tiles, you just need a small notch trowel. The grooves need to be like 6mm. If it's a bigger tile, then you'll need 8 or 10mm grooves in your notch trowel. And so a bigger notch trowel will essentially give you a slightly thicker bed of adhesive for the tiles to set into. Now the notch trowel that I'm using isn't ideal, as the grooves are quite big for the tiles that I'm putting in. And I have laid down this adhesive closest to the door thicker than you usually would. That's just because it was a little low on this side when I put my level across it. So I'm just trying to compensate a little bit and bring the floor up slightly. So here I'm using my wedges out of my levelling system. So you just pop them through the spacers, and then you get the clamp and you tighten them down. And once I've tightened down all the wedges, I give it 24 hours for the adhesive to set. So here's the next day now, and I'm just using a rubber mallet just to knock out the spacers and wedges. Now there was a few spacers that didn't snap off properly, so I'm just using a soldering iron here just to cut through the plastic and then melt the plastic below the grout line. Once I've done that, I then get a grout rake and I just go over all the lines and just rake it to make sure there's no grout protruding above tile level.
So that's the grout lines cleaned up using a combination of the grout rake, soldering iron and a utility knife, and now I just need to grout it.
So I've knocked up some grout here, I get my grout flow and I start embedding it into the grout lines. This bit's a bit boring, so I'll play some music or something. So after I've sort of grouted it all, I leave it like 10 minutes and then I get a bucket of clean water and a cloth and I'll start wiping it down.
Alright guys, that's the end product. That's what the floor looks like. And I've gone ahead and given it a lick of paint, plumbed in the tiler and then thrown some skirting in. Just got the radiator that needs plumbing in now. And that's about it for this video. Hopefully it's been useful to someone. If you do like DIY content, I've got plenty more DIY videos on the channel, so please consider subscribing. And thank you very much for watching.